He thought his K-9 partner had retired to a better life, but years later, while walking through the city, a soldier froze. Lying on the pavement was the same dog, starving, ribs showing, eyes hollow with pain. What happened next stunned everyone, watching and revealed a heartbreaking truth. In the heart of war, trust was rare. Yet for Sergeant Miller, trust came on four legs. His K-9 partner Rex was more than a dog. He was a brother, a shield, and at times, the reason Miller came home alive. Together, they patrolled hostile streets, searched for hidden explosives, and comforted each other in the quiet hours when fear crept in. Rex's ears twitched at the faintest sound, his instincts sharper than any weapon. Miller often whispered, "I've got you, buddy," but deep down he knew it was Rex who had him. When Rex's service years ended, the military announced his retirement. Miller saluted him one last time, believing his partner would spend the rest of his life safe and loved. He walked away heavy-hearted, never imagining that fate would betray that promise. Their story was far from over. Civilian life was supposed to bring peace, but for Miller it felt hollow. The sounds of gunfire and shouting had faded, yet the silence carried its own weight. At night he often reached instinctively for Rex, expecting the steady presence that had once been by his side, but the kennel was empty, and so was his heart. He tried to convince himself that Rex was fine, imagining him sprawled across a warm porch somewhere, loved by a new family. Still, doubt gnawed at him. Letters of inquiry went unanswered, and no official ever told him where Rex had gone. On long walks, Miller's eyes scanned every dog he passed, searching faces for familiar eyes. But they were never Rex's. Deep down, he clung to one fragile belief, that his partner was alive and that someday, somehow, their paths would cross again. It was a quiet afternoon when Miller wandered through the city streets, lost in thought. Vendors lined the sidewalks, children played near the park, and life seemed ordinary. But then in the corner of his eye he saw movement, a frail, hunched figure lying near a lamppost. At first he thought it was just another stray, but as he drew closer, his heart began to race. The dog's ribs jutted out sharply, fur thin and matted, eyes clouded with exhaustion. Yet there was something unmistakable in those eyes. Miller stopped dead in his tracks. His breath caught, his knees weakened. The world around him blurred into silence. It was Rex, his loyal partner, the same dog who had once leapt through fire to save lives, now reduced to a starving shadow on the streets. The sight nearly broke him in two. Miller dropped to his knees, his voice trembling. "Rex, is that you?" The name slipped out like a prayer, fragile and full of hope. The dog's ears twitched at the sound. Slowly he lifted his head, his cloudy eyes searching. For a moment there was only confusion. Then came the faintest spark of recognition. With a weak whine, Rex dragged himself forward, tail giving a feeble wag. Miller's chest tightened as tears streamed down his face. He reached out, his hands shaking, and Rex pressed his muzzle into them, as if clinging to a memory that had never died. People on the street stopped to watch, their chatter fading into silence. A decorated soldier, broken and weeping, holding a dog once hailed as a hero. In that moment, the world around them disappeared. After years apart, man and dog had finally found each other again. The crowd began to murmur, whispers rippling through the street as Miller cradled Rex's frail body. "How could this happen?" someone asked aloud. Another shook their head, muttering, "Wasn't he a military dog?" Miller's heart burned with anger and confusion. How could a hero, a dog who had risked everything in war, be left to rot? On the streets? He demanded answers, but none came. People only shrugged, saying they had seen Rex wandering for weeks, begging for scraps, ignored by most. A passerby suggested he might have been discarded after retirement, like a piece of broken equipment. The words cut Miller deeper than any wound from battle. Rex had given his all, his loyalty, his courage, his very body. And this was his reward? Clenching his jaw, Miller made a silent vow. Never again would Rex be abandoned. From this moment Forward, he would fight for him, just as Rex had always fought for him. Without wasting another moment, Miller scooped Rex into his arms and rushed him to the nearest veterinary clinic. The staff gasped when they saw the German Shepherd's condition, skin stretched tight over bone, paws raw, and scars hidden beneath his thinning fur. Tests confirmed what Miller already feared. Rex was severely malnourished, dehydrated, and weak. But there was fight in him still, the same determination that once carried him through the battlefield. The vet placed him on a strict diet plan, medicines for his wounds, and plenty of rest. Day after day, Miller stayed by his side. He spoon-fed him, brushed his coat, and whispered the same words he had during their service years. "I've got you, buddy." Slowly, Rex's eyes regained their brightness. His tail wagged a little stronger, and his bark returned, soft at first, then steady. Every small victory reminded Miller that love could rebuild what neglect had tried to destroy. Weeks passed, and Rex transformed before Miller's eyes. His ribs no longer showed, his coat grew shinier, and his steps regained strength. Each walk through the neighborhood felt like a victory parade. Strangers often stopped to admire him, and when they heard his story, their eyes welled with tears. Miller cherished every moment, feeding Rex, tossing a ball in the yard, or simply sitting together on the porch at dusk. For the first time since leaving the military, he felt whole again. Neighbors praised the soldier's devotion, but Miller always shook his head. "He saved me first," he'd reply, scratching behind Rex's ears. "I'm just returning the favor." Their bond, once forged in battle, was now rebuilt in peace. And as Rex trotted proudly at his side, Miller knew this second chance was nothing short of a gift. Spring sunlight streamed through Miller's window as Rex lay curled at his feet, snoring softly. Miller watched him with a quiet smile, his heart swelling with gratitude. That near-fatal day on the streets had given him something greater than survival. It had given him Rex. Rex was no longer the fearless K-9 charging into danger, but to Miller, he was more than enough. Every wag of his tail, every loyal glance, reminded him of battles endured and promises kept. Miller often whispered, "You gave me everything, old friend. Now it's my turn." To neighbors, Rex was a hero. To Miller, he was proof that loyalty never dies. It only waits to be found. Again, together they had finally come home.